Yeah, I've never been through it before.
Oh, you have to.
Oh, hi.
Oh, hi. You really like my table, don't you?
I was just,
Getting to know my daughter.
you're...
Are you my new daddy?
Wow. You do not look old enough to have a daughter. No, I mean it. And you do not look like a daughter.
That's possibly very sweet of you. Thanks.
Let's be real. We all wanted to be a Gilmore girl. Or at the very least, we wanted to live in a world where you could eat your weight in Malamars, speak at the speed of sound, and have a relationship with your mom that feels more like a permanent sleepover than a hierarchy. Lorelai Gilmore is the ultimate cool mom. She's witty, she's fiercely independent, and she makes adulthood look like one big caffeinated pop culture reference. For years, she's been held up as the gold standard for the unconventional woman, the one who did it her way, without a man, without her parents' money, and with a smile on her face. But if you look past the oversized coffee mugs and the charming banter, the picture starts to get a little blurry. Because while Lorelai is arguably one of the most beloved characters in TV history, she's also one of the most psychologically stagnant. We laugh at her antics, but when you strip away the jokes, you see a woman who is essentially running a 20-year marathon away from her own reflection. There's a common psychological theory that you stop growing emotionally at the age your primary trauma occurred. For Lorelai, that was 16. The moment she saw that positive pregnancy test, her personal development didn't just slow down, it hit a brick wall. She went from being a pampered daughter to a provider overnight, skipping the messy, self-indulgent years of late adolescence and early adulthood. Today, we're going to look at the girl who never grew up, the high price of her rebellion, and why the cool mom trope we all envied might actually be a mask for a deep, unresolved wound. Chapter 1: The Time Warp of 1984. Have you ever noticed that Lorelai's entire life feels like a high schooler's dream of what being a grown-up looks like? It's not just a personality quirk, it's a lifestyle curated to spite the world of Hartford. She lives on a diet of frozen pizza, red vines, and takeout because a balanced meal feels too much like her mother's dining room. Her house is decorated with kitschy flea market finds and bright colors, resembling a teenage bedroom on steroids. On the surface, it's quirky, it's Gilmore style, but under the hood, it's classic Arrested Development. Lorelai missed out on her formative years, the years where you're supposed to be flighty, irresponsible, and self-centered. Because she had to be an adult for Rory, she spends the rest of her life being a teenager for herself. Look at her primary mode of communication. It's sarcasm, irony, and rapid-fire deflection. Whenever a conversation gets too heavy or a relationship gets too real, Lorelai pulls the eject button by making a joke. She uses her wit not just to entertain, but to keep people at arm's length. If she's talking fast enough, she doesn't have to feel. Her fierce independence isn't just a point of pride, it's a defensive wall. She ran away from the rigid world of Emily and Richard because she didn't want to grow up into a carbon copy of her mother. But the irony is, by constantly reacting against her parents, she's still letting them dictate every move. She's not living her own authentic life, she's living a lifelong protest. And that protest has kept her frozen in 1984, wearing a denim jacket and refusing to ever hear the word no. Chapter 2: Not a regular mom, a wounded mom. The Lorelai-Rory dynamic is the heart of the show. It's what we tune in for, the we're best friends first energy. But when you look at it through a modern lens, that dynamic is a bit of a psychological minefield. Lorelai's parenting style is essentially one long reactive trauma response to Emily Gilmore's parenting. Emily was cold, controlling, and demanded perfection through rigid rules. So Lorelai went to the opposite extreme. She became the pal, the confidant, and the woman who refuses to set a single boundary. The problem is, when a mother refuses to be the adult in the room, the child is forced to fill that vacuum. This is what psychologists call parentification. From the very first episode, Rory is the one keeping track of the schedule. Rory is the one making sure they have enough coffee. Rory is the one providing emotional stability when Lorelai spirals over a breakup or a petty fight with a neighbor. Lorelai needs Rory to be her emotional anchor, which is a staggering amount of pressure to put on a kid. By being the cool mom, Lorelai effectively forced Rory into the role of the perfect daughter. Because Lorelai's self-worth is so tied up in her success as a young, cool, single mom, Rory feels she can never truly fail, or she'll break the fantasy Lorelai has built. Rory isn't a daughter to Lorelai. She's a co-pilot in a world where Lorelai never learned how to fly the plane. Lorelai didn't give Rory a mother to look up to. She gave her a peer to take care of. And while that leads to some incredible movie nights, it also creates a child who grows up with a massive fear of disappointment and an inability to function when the cool facade finally starts to crack. Chapter 3: Stars Hollow, the Enchanted Enabler. Every hero needs a home, and Lorelai found hers in Stars Hollow. But if Lorelai is the girl who never grew up, then Stars Hollow is her personal Neverland, a place where time stays still and the rules of the real world don't apply. Think about how the town functions. It's not a real place, it's an echo chamber. The inhabitants, Kirk, Miss Patty, Babette, and Taylor, they don't just live there, they are the supporting cast in Lorelai's personal sitcom. The town doesn't hold Lorelai accountable for her flightiness, her tardiness, or her occasional bursts of selfishness. Instead, they treat her like the special girl of the village. She's the town's mascot. When Lorelai throws a tantrum at a town meeting because she's not getting her way, Taylor gets annoyed, but the rest of the town just kind of sighs and says, "Oh, that's just our Lorelai." The town's endless festivals and quirky traditions provide a safe, repetitive loop where nothing truly changes. It's a bubble where her arrested development is not only tolerated, but celebrated. In the real world, a 32-year-old woman who handles her problems with bit and shtick might be told to get it together. In Stars Hollow, she's the protagonist. This setting allows her to stay in her comfort zone forever. She can be the smartest, funniest person in the room without ever having to be the most mature. It's a safe haven, yes, but it's also an incubator for stagnation. Lorelai can't outgrow the town because the town refuses to grow up with her. It's her private stage, and as long as the town keeps applauding, she never has to face the reality of who she is when the coffee runs out.
Why don't you care? Why have you never cared? No matter what has happened to me my entire life, you've never been happy for me, and that hurts. Mom, it really hurts.
I'm not discussing this with you.
Do you know how it felt for me to tell you that I was getting married and to have you just brush it off like that? Do you know?
No, I don't know. Possibly very similar to finding out from a complete stranger that my only daughter was getting married and had told every other person in the world before she bothered to tell her own mother. Possibly it felt something like that. Now, if you will excuse me, it is late and I'm going to bed.
Chapter 4: The Mirror She Breaks. Lorelai's entire identity is built on the premise that she is the un-Emily. In her mind, Emily Gilmore is the villain in a pearl necklace, controlling, rigid, and judgmental. Lorelai, meanwhile, is the free spirit. But if you watch their interactions closely, you start to realize that Lorelai didn't actually escape the Gilmore cycle. She just flipped the script. They are essentially the same person in a different font. They share the same stubbornness, the same need to be the smartest person in the room, and most importantly, the same tendency to manipulate situations to maintain control. This brings us to Lorelai's most consistent character trait: self-sabotage. Because Lorelai is stuck in a state of arrested development, her view of stability is warped. To most people, a stable job, a committed partner, and a supportive family are the goals. To Lorelai, those things look like the high-fenced estate in Hartford. Stability feels like a trap. Think about Max Medina. He was perfect on paper, intelligent, kind, and ready to be the partner she claimed to want. But the closer she got to the altar, the more he looked like a threat to her wall of independence. She didn't just break up with him, she fled the state. She does this because she suffers from hyper-independence. When you grow up feeling like love is a contract with a million hidden clauses, you learn to stop signing contracts altogether. Every time a man tries to step in and truly support her, not just as a boyfriend, but as a pillar, Lorelai starts to feel the walls closing in. She wants the love, but she is terrified of the bill she thinks she'll eventually receive. In her mind, being beholden to someone is the ultimate failure. She would rather be a lone wolf in a house with a leaking roof than accept a hand that might eventually try to lead her somewhere she didn't choose. By refusing to let anyone in, she ensures she's never controlled again, but she also ensures she's always alone. Chapter 5. The High Cost of Rebellion. Lorelai is the quintessential not like other girls protagonist. She prides herself on being the one who can out-eat the guys, out-reference the film buffs, and out-talk the scholars, all while looking like $1,000,000 in a thrifted sweater. But as the series progresses, this cool girl energy starts to reveal a darker side, a deep-seated disdain for traditional femininity. We see this most clearly in how she treats women who chose the path she rejected. Look at her attitude towards Sherry or Lindsay. To Lorelai, women who care about domesticity or weddings or traditional milestones are objects of mockery. She uses her wit as a weapon to put these women down, framed as harmless banter, but it's actually a defense mechanism. By mocking the regular woman, she justifies her own lack of conventional growth. She's essentially telling the world, "I'm not stuck, I'm just too cool for the life you have." This rebellion even extends to her body. Her refusal to eat a green vegetable isn't just a quirky character trait, it's a lifelong middle finger to the refined, balanced world of her upbringing. Every burger, every donut, and every pizza is a small act of defiance against the proper world of Emily Gilmore. She is effectively rotting her insides to prove that nobody, not her mother, not a doctor, not society, can tell her how to live. The tragedy here is that by the time she reaches her late 30s, this rebellion has become her cage. She spent so much energy fighting the traditional woman archetype that she never realized she was allowed to just be a woman, one who is allowed to be vulnerable, allowed to want a stable marriage, and allowed to occasionally agree with her mother without it being a betrayal of her identity. She's so busy being a rebel that she forgets to actually be happy. Conclusion: the unfinished coming of age. So where does that leave us with Lorelai Gilmore? Is she a villain? Of course not. Is she a hero? In many ways, yes. She's a survivor who built a successful business and a home from literally nothing when she was just a child herself. That takes a level of grit most people will never have to find. But Lorelai is also a cautionary tale about what happens when you let your trauma pick your personality. By the time we get to the revival, A Year in the Life, we see that despite the passing years, Lorelai is largely in the same place. She's still struggling with the same communication blocks, still terrified of fully merging her life with Luke, and still having the exact same arguments with Emily that she was having in season 1. The revival ends with a full circle moment, Rory telling Lorelai she's pregnant. It's a moment that highlights the central theme of the show, generational echoes. Lorelai spent her life trying to ensure Rory had the perfect, unconventional life so that Rory wouldn't end up stuck like her. But Lorelai's refusal to grow up, to set boundaries, and to face her own past created a vacuum that Rory eventually got sucked into. Growing up isn't a destination you reach when you buy an inn or get married. It's the internal work of stepping out of reaction mode and into action mode. Lorelai shows us that you can be the smartest, funniest person in the room and still be the one who is the most stuck in the past. We love Lorelai because we see our own late-onset adulthood in her. We envy her freedom, but we have to acknowledge the stagnation that came with it. In the end, Lorelai Gilmore isn't just the girl who never grew up. She's a reminder that true independence isn't about running away from where you came from. It's about having the courage to stop running and finally figure out who you are when you're not in the middle of a rebellion. Thanks for watching this deep dive into the complicated, coffee-fueled world of Lorelai Gilmore. If you enjoyed this analysis, make sure to hit that subscribe button for more character studies. And let me know in the comments, do you think Lorelai finally grew up in the end, or is she destined to stay the town's resident teenager? See you in the next one.